animator, I'm Zen, and I'm here to make your life a little bit easier in this crazy industry. Let's talk about idle animation today. I want to talk about it because it's one of the topics that got requested, and also I feel like that is something that everybody who ever worked animation had to do, especially when you just come to the industry, or even if you've been doing it for a while, you still have to do idling quite a lot for background characters or even for the main characters sometimes when they're not the star of the scene. So let's talk about how to create an idle animation that works, that's gonna get approved from your supervisor, and let's see some examples today from actual animations, and then we're gonna try to create an idle animation from scratch and see how the workflow goes. I always say that there is no right or wrong way to do. It's just different workflows for different animators. I'm going to show you the way I do it, and maybe you will find something useful and you will take something for yourself from that workflow. First, let's take a look at some examples of idle animation that I picked from different projects. This one is first from Arcane. Very simple. Let's just take a look. As you can see, these two characters on the side are idling as our main character goes in. Idling animation is all about not to distract from the main action. She is the main character here. She is the one doing the cool stuff. But the characters around her have to look alive. And this is the main point of any idle animation, is to keep a character alive, but not to take away from the main action. Let's take a look at other examples as well. And as you can see, this guy is like still for most of the time. He just has a small reaction. And usually you can divide idle animation in subtypes, like they might be thinking, they might be observing something, they might be reacting to something, or just waiting, looking around. So if we look at our first example over here, you can clearly see that one of the guys is kind of like observing, the other one is just doing his job, maybe thinking his own thoughts here. That's just like slightly different types. So you can see one is following with the eyes, the other one is just being cool. Over here, it's clearly idle reaction, where the character kind of have to react, but he also cannot take away too much attention from this paw, because if this guy moves too much, we won't see this paw. So we have a main character going nuts, and then you still can see the guy just having small reaction, small breeze here and there, but the main action is all still in Puss in Boots. Over here we have another great example of idling, because we need to pay attention to this kid who is talking about the princess as she puts the flower. We can see that she has the most variations in her animation, while the people who are creating the foreground over here, well, they're pretty much static. They have super subtle movements. And if you have noticed something interesting, if you haven't not yet noticed something interesting, a lot of idling that we see over here comes from the head or from the arms. Pay attention that this guy only moves his arms. This guy pretty much only moves his head. Now, if you go here, also the main action comes from the top of the body, right? This one is a bit bigger because it's reactions. As we go here, you notice that this girl standing, leaning on this guy, also mostly the head is moving. This one is also head movement. So when you do idle animation, keep in mind that if you move the entire body too much, that will become already animation that people start paying attention to. So if you want to do idling, like I showed in examples here, move only one part. Maybe shift the weight a little bit so the whole body moves like one big chunk, so it doesn't attract too much attention. Because if you start moving arms, head, you turn, you wave, you step, you do something more than like one small movement, that stops becoming idling. That starts becoming chaos. And I know as a junior animators quite often like to animate everything. Idling is not about animating everything. Idling is about being subtle. And let's jump to our last example. This one will be from Dispatch. And I can proudly say this is the shot I actually have done for this project. So let's take a look at one of the shots that I have done for the idling.
I prefer as a blonde, but to each their own. I knew you'd take, what is it you call her? gal. That you
See over here that our main attention should be on the action that's happening in Invisigirl. The background characters cannot be too much. So if you can see Flambe and I forgot his name, Roy, right? They're like just breathing there. Like there's some shoulder movement, but it's super subtle. Also, it really helps that they are kind of like at the back, so you can't really see them. So there's like some subtle shifts over here. But the other character that we see in the scene is Blonde Blazer, because the villain is talking about her. My thought process was that she has to react at least a little bit because he says her name. So when somebody says your name, you will probably have some reaction. But I couldn't animate her in a way that it will take foreground because we have this shot is about Invisigirl. So our Blonde Blazer is barely moving here. There's some reaction mostly on her face, more subtle on her head. I try not to move her body at all. I try to play the entire reaction with the head movement, with the eye movement, because we still need to see her a bit reacting, but it's mostly an idling. And of course, there is some breathing that you can put on top. Breathing is very important for idling. I will definitely talk about it more. But as you can see, we're still paying attention to our main girl acting, being all sad about what's happening. And then the background character is not dead. And yet you still feel her being alive because she reacts to the words of the villain. But she's not doing that much action. And it really helps. So what we're gonna try to do today to create animation as well that will look like a background character, just to learn how to make something subtle but it's still alive. All right, let's start. So first things first, I have posed ahead. I used this image as a reference to pose, but I didn't do the finger lock because this is a tutorial and not my torture chamber to create that. This is the base that I refer to, and when I am creating idle animation, my number one thing to do is to create a strong pose, because you're gonna hold that pose for the most of the time. It's not gonna move that much, so always start with a strong pose. Create a good one, make sure you're happy with it, and then we will make an idle out of it. Now, another thing that you might have noticed that for some reason my Maya looks a bit different. Please don't be scared. It's okay. It's just because my main window is on the other screen. This is just rip-off windows that I have glued together because it takes less of a screen like this. I just have another window on my second screen open. I always animate with two screens because it's much easier for me, but when you record, it's kind of hard to record on two screens at the same time. Idle animation usually it's pretty long unless your shot is short and you just get to do very small amount, but usually idling is for long shots and you have to hold it for a while, and usually it is around 200 frames if not more. Usually when we create libraries for idle animation, they are 300 plus, so yeah, 200 is not that bad, so we're gonna work with 200 frames today. All right, we got our good posing that we are gonna try to bring to life. Now, before I have jumped into this, I did some reference video where I just sit down and also looked at the side and sort of just look at how my body moves. Not much is happening, just me sitting, moving my head around, which you should do probably just to observe and kind of see the timing for the head. Important thing about idling is that we have to choose which part of the body moves the most, and as I said, in most of the idling animations it's the head, so we're gonna start with the head. So let's put a key here. Let's say we have her seeing somebody, because my idea is that she's waiting for someone and she's kind of looking into the crowd. Maybe she's waiting for why. Let's make her head kind of lift up a little bit to look up. This is going to be our main point, that she's looking up to see somebody. As you can see, I'm doing very subtle first, just moving it a little bit. Don't forget about the neck. Neck is important, and then the body will also go up, stretch a little bit more, and you can push it up. I'm using Animbot because it saves me a lot of time. This is pre-selected and it's just faster to work like this, so I'm going to be using Animbot as I show, but you still can just not use it and go and select everything like this. or created a different way to select the quick select sets, or maybe you have some other plugins to do so. And another thing that I like to do first is always to work in step keys. So I'm going to change everything to step keys first. Now we have these two keys. So we can see her looking up. This is not big, pretty good. Can make her even a bit taller and push a bit more over here. There you go. Let's check. Yeah, this is good. This is not much movement. Now, take a look what I moved. I moved the head, I moved the neck, I moved the torso, because this is the first obvious things that you think about when you lift up the head. But apart from it, your entire body will react because she saw something, right? And when we move the body, even the top body, the rest of the body should react too. So let's go and find what else will react. Well, probably this part of the body. If you're sitting like me, crouching right now, your back, try to straighten up. You will feel that your pelvis will also have a subtle movement. And this is something that I always advise to do animators, that if you need to create the movement, and sometimes it's not obvious on the video, like one of your reference, move it. Feel which part of your body moves. So if you're sitting like this, crouching down, you move up, do you feel some movement in your pelvis? I feel, at least maybe mine, I don't know how about yours, but it is straightening up a little bit. So I will rotate it up a little bit. It helps her to push her body up a little bit. You can push the belly inside as well. And notice that I'm not doing very big movements yet. Still only 2 keys over here. Yes, there you go. And then maybe as she pushes, right, to look up, she puts a bit more pressure on one of the arms, which is, in this case, probably she's, you know, kind of leaning this way a little bit, right? Because when we straighten up to look to the right side, you tend to bend your body more to the left side. So if you did this, obviously you will put a little bit more pressure over here. So this could be some small shoulder movement. And if you put more pressure on the leg, the knee will also have a little bit of movement, and then you will have a little bit of movement of the arm pushing down. Let's see. Yeah, okay, put a little bit more. Have to be very subtle, because if you over move, not gonna work. Yeah, there you go. More body parts move, more alive she feels. Now, we still have this arm. This arm will probably also have a tiny movement. Maybe because she's straightening up, the arm will kind of push a little bit back. Yeah, that's good. And then this knee also can open up a little bit. There you go. See how tiny these movements are? But they immediately feel like she is switching some weight. Now, we have said that she's maybe putting a little bit more weight, but as you can see, my leg has been already here on the edge of the foot. So if she's putting a bit more weight, it could go either way. So she could press it more harder, or maybe she goes a little bit more on the edge of that foot. And I feel like in this case, she's kind of pushing her arm a little bit this way. So it's going to be more of the edge of the foot. And here again, maybe she can raise slightly more. There's some small reaction on her feet. Feet are usually quite grounded. They won't just like slide left and right with this controller, but what they can do, you have all these additional controllers that are pretty great to create some minor movement. Maybe there is more pressure on the top of the foot, of where the toes are, or more sideways. So try to move. I think the best is always to move yourself and feel where's the pressure is, where's you're shifting the weight. And then we still have this shoulder. I feel like it also have to move, because right now it feels like it's stuck. Usually when we look up, as you can see, I'm rotating a bit more, and my shoulder goes also a little bit higher here. So I feel like the shoulder go higher a bit here, and maybe she like straightening up a little bit into that pose. A bit too much. There you go. Straighten into this shoulder a little bit too. So this is one movement. And of course, if you have moved the translation on the arms, wrists will also react. I forgot to rotate them, so let's just add a little bit of rotation. Now here this could go two ways, right? This arm could maybe drop a bit more down as it's pushing, and this one, as it's kind of like tensing up, we can lift it a little bit up and maybe add a bit like tension to it. Let's just raise the finger a little bit, like she tensed up a little bit. Maybe she's like suspecting there is someone there. So we add in a little bit more tension to that finger. There you go. There we go. Yeah, this feels like a nice small transition that we can have in our idling. Now I know that what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold her here with maybe some very, very tiny head movement, and then she will see something. So we'll definitely need a key for anticipation. Let's key here. This will be the anticipation, maybe a bit shorter timing. Let's say we have 76 till 81, so 5 frames from anticipation to final pose. Okay, because we're still gonna offset stuff, so that should be good enough. And then this pose, she'll probably because she reacted right to something, she thinks she's seeing something, right? So which means we have to keep her a little bit more alive here, and we will want her to kind of look around. Maybe she's like seeing a little bit more with very tiny movements over here. If it's too much, I'll show you in a second how we reduce this. So like, oh, this is pretty good. Like she's actively searching for something, right? So we want to add maybe 1 or 2 head movements. Like she's, who is that? Am I seeing who I'm looking for? So this is a tiny bit, and she can kind of relax by the end of it because it's like an active phase. And then now here's the interesting part. You can loop it back, or you don't have to loop it back if you need to create a cycle, because there's cycled one, and I feel like for a cycle 200 frames is a bit short. If you want to do idle cycle, it has to be at least 300 frames so it doesn't look as repetitive. So I'm not going to loop her back in exactly same key, but I'm going to let her relax a little bit here. So she didn't see who she was looking for, so she kind of goes a bit back down, and I guess the shoulder drop a little bit back, and because the head is the main movement, so the head is the one that's dropping, don't forget the neck. Maybe still kind of, she's still looking up, but she is already less tense than before. This feels a lot now. So what happens is, if the animation feels a lot, right? Adjusting it back just by trying to move it like back, translate it back, not a good idea. You can Control Z and try again, but also waste of time. So if you have an aimbot, the easiest thing to do, we select all, and there is this thing called blend to the neighbor, which I really like. So if you push, it kind of blends to the previous key a little bit, and then it becomes more subtle. So for example, the head and the neck for me is a bit too much right now, so I can just select them and just blend them back to the previous key, so the transition is a little bit less. Still feel like too much. But let's say you don't have any bot. Hey, like that's not fair, right? There is a solution for it too. It's not like I always had any bot too. Let's turn it back into auto key. Okay, we didn't press the key here. Make it a good habit that you always select all controllers and press S. It will help you with this. So I did just now press S on all of this. So now I have it in my auto key. But even better, if you want, you can have it in the linear key. This way, your Maya will calculate everything exactly the same. There's no slow in and slow out. And what you can do, you can just find where do you think is nice. Where is this subtle enough? Oh, this is pretty good, right? So what I'll do, I'll hold the middle mouse click, drag it over here, press S, and now this is what I have. Let's turn it back to normal one, and there you go. What you're doing, you're pretty much sitting in between, right? And we are stealing from over here the key that we like and pushing it over here to our main keyframe. But it is a little bit more steps to do, but it's still doable. That's why I like Animbot, because it simplifies a lot this process, but you still can do it without it. And here's like some subtle going down. I feel like the body should go a little bit more. The head I like, but the body I want a little bit more. Like she's kind of like sucking down, and I feel like she should not be leaning so much on this side anymore. Yeah, this feels more relaxed. Let's get the shoulders down a little bit. Okay, and we relax the arm as well a tiny bit. We can push a little bit the elbows as well to get the feeling of like relaxing a little bit more. Okay, and the neck, I feel like neck should drop a bit more. Tiny bit rotation down. Yeah, this is good because as she's gonna be looking up here, I will actually modify her body a little bit here as well. So it goes into slightly less tense. Let's just use our blend neighbor again. Just a bit. So it's already settling slowly. Okay, there we go. And let's see. So this is, we are keeping her not moving. Suddenly she saw something, looked around a little bit, and we kind of settled her back a bit. This is main keys to kind of get our idea out. And let's just create one more. It's quite important to have, that is anticipation for her reaction. Very minor because her reaction is not big either, so you don't want to overdo it. Let's have tiny bit of movement. If you're gonna be doing and thinking like, hey, I'm also moving around stuff, and when I play it doesn't look great, please keep in mind that I have been doing this for 10 years of my life, so if I can't nail it, that's like sad for me more than, you know, something you should be scared or ashamed of for. So because if you're just starting your animation journey and you're like, oh man, but I also moved a little bit, but it looks too much, it takes practice, it takes a lot of watching stuff to just recognize what's right, what's wrong, to feel that movement of the arm. Yes, this is gonna be our anticipation. So in anticipation, I want her to have like small finger movement as well, because she's tensing up. So usually when we kind of like see something, like kind of have like jerk in the body, so it's like. So we have created our main keys. You'll have a little bit of movement over here, and she looks up, then small tiny movements here and here and down. I'd say because she's still kind of constantly looking, right, even in the first part, I'd say we add like a tiny bit of a head movement over here as well, just like a tiny bit. I feel like in this pose, our key pose, lean her head a little bit because we want to see her face a bit more. There. Okay, now as you can see, I always have graph editor open because I quite like adjusting here. So what I don't like is that, see, when she first time looked up and then she turned back and then she turned back here, it's on the same level. We don't want that. We want to have it a little bit less. So I'm using the graph editor to make sure she doesn't have exactly same turn, exactly same movement, because that just doesn't look very good. And most of the time when you drag it just like by feeling, by just like, you know, approximately, you will get that. So I like to go in a graph editor and adjust a little bit to make like the second one a bit more subtle. There we go. Now let's check our timing. Select everything. Make sure you press S everywhere key, just because it's very good to do before you spline anything. Let's spline it. And spline key. The spline key looks funny and weird, but this is what we want. It creates very, very easy way to create idle animation because it kind of automatically moves for you. So what I'm suggesting here is that we forgot one key because she turns over here. So we need to keep her still here. So till here she's still. So I am stealing the key, but I don't steal exactly the first key. I steal like a couple of keys here. So because there's some very tiny movement here. Hold, hold, hold. Tiny head movement. Then it's our anticipation. See, anticipation doesn't work because she kind of like drops in already into it. So again, we're stealing the key, moving it here. So because this is she's staying, she's not doing anything. And then only, oops, because my global tangent is on this guy. We need to change it to, let's change it to set global Maya tangent to this for now. Yes, everything is blind now. So hold, hold, hold. Anticipation, reaction. Now we'll have to hold this reaction a little bit too. So let's drag it over here. This is where we're gonna hold the reaction. Then small turn. Then we keep that turn. Again, what I'm doing is I'm just dragging, not exactly the same key, but maybe like first the second one. So there is a tiny bit of movement there. And then going to this and again, hold. So hold. And then she's settling into this. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna play blast this because you're not gonna be able to see a proper speed. So let's just play blast this quickly. All right, let's take a look. Small movement, reaction. She's feeling a bit agitated. Okay, not the one I was looking for. You see, it's very subtle. There's not much happening. There is some movement. Of course, it's not polished. This is like literally a first take just to find out if we like the timing, if we want to shift something. This is a test for our timing. I'm quite satisfied. I feel like maybe her first turn after reaction is a bit too much. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Maybe hold here for just... Don't know. I like it. It's okay. She doesn't have to like stay too long. It will be... We don't want also each action to take exactly the same time because then you'll have rhythm problems. So it's kind of like nicely spaced out. Yes. I approve this timing. This is good enough. This is very subtle, very small. And what we can do now is we can go in, offset some stuff, polish some stuff, add some stuff. But also, because it's a reaction shot, and she's looking for someone. I'm not gonna animate the facials here, but I'm gonna animate the eyes because the eyes are the one that lead in this action. Now, you're probably wondering why there are some parts that look quite dead right now. They should, because that's where we're gonna add breathing on top, but breathing is always a second layer because if you start doing the breathing before you do the main idea of your idling, you're probably gonna overdo it. You don't want to do breathing straight away. Breathing is something to cover all that stillness, and we can even create it separately and add it on top. So I'm gonna go polish it quickly. I'll be recording it, but I'll fast forward a lot of it because it's so boring. I'll probably be stopping at the parts that I want to talk about, but overall I feel like it's just gonna be boring to watch somebody polishing it. So just that I'll just do the stops here and there if they're needed. The head leads everything here, but the head is led by the eyes. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna jump to her face. I'm using the 2D zoom pen. If you don't know what it is, it's the button on top of your enter button. It's like the slash. So if you press it, you can move it around like as a 2D zoom pen, which helps you instead of trying to zoom in the shot or change like a camera. This like kind of zooms into your camera. As I said, the eyes are the one that's very important here. So we want to create some eye dart. If you want to know more about eye dart, I can make the whole other video, but I'm gonna sprinkle the eye dart all over the place here because she needs to have some eye motion, otherwise she will look quite dead. And especially you want to have the eye motion before she looks somewhere, like before she turns, because how do we turn to the places is that we usually switch our eyes first. We look at catch something from a corner of our eye, and then we're like, oh, okay, I should probably turn there and check what's happening. And this is why we need eye darts. So here she's going to be actively searching, so I'll add way more eye darts than before, because here you see like I pull her eyes to the right and her head turns to the right. Now she's searching something on the right side, so I am adding an eye dart here. Now here she actually goes this way, the other way, so we want to make her eyes shift more here, like this. So, and maybe she's looking up a little bit here because, as I said, she's looking for somebody. All right, let's take a look at our quick eye dart movements, see if it's enough to keep her alive. I feel like here we're missing one in the beginning, but and yes, this is pretty good. Now anticipation is a bit but it's okay. We are figuring out the eyes first, just so we know. where she's looking. I feel like over here when she goes up, the eyes feel a bit too high. So let's bring them down a little bit. Yes, eyes are very important, okay? If you don't animate the eyes, your character will be dead, and especially if they're looking for someone observing, waiting, and so on, you want to have eyes animated. You want to know what your character is thinking, and that's why eyes are very important. Let's go and fix some anticipation now, because I feel like it's good. I'm mostly going to pay attention right now to the head, because the head is the main movement here. So I am going to start with the head because she looks over here to notice something and then she moves. So the small eye movement leads the action. You also can absolutely animate the face here to raise the eyebrows. It will help, but I don't want to touch the face today. It's going to take forever. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shift the keys for her head and for her neck one step forward, because they're the one that's leading our action, so they should start moving first. This is what we're doing with offsetting. Look up, and as she raises, the head will kind of still follow a little bit more. This looks much more natural already. Now, the body is more to be last to react, and it usually reacts a bit faster, so instead I'll push it back. So you will have the head, the shoulders react, then the body, and then the body will be actually quite quick to go up. As you can see, I'm only paying attention to the head right now because the head is more important to me right now. I will take a look at the whole thing in a bit, but I'm doing this animation bit by bit. I like it. This is a bit of small head movement here. You can see the head is just right now moving, but nothing else is moving because we completely forgot about the neck, which is not good. We want to add a little bit of rotation on the neck at least, and then the body can also react a very tiny bit. It's very subtle, honestly. Most of the time you can't really see, and you'll be thinking, oh, if you can't see, why should I move it even? Trust me, you want to move it. You will feel it. You might not see it really clearly that you're like moving so subtly and it's like super tiny movement. You can see this, like, come on, like, who's gonna see that? It will feel wrong if you don't move it, trust me. Yeah, that looks not bad. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be polished, like the fingers could be delayed, the wrists could be tweaked upon, and so on. But you already can see that she is not dead. There is a very subtle movement that she feels alive. If I'm gonna go and polish it, this video will never come out because I will never be satisfied with how it looks. But what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna create one more thing that is missing here. It's our breathing. Okay, so as I said before, I do not do breathing as I do main action because I feel like breathing distracts a lot. Maybe it's just me, but it really doesn't work for me if I do start with breathing. What I usually do in projects, at least when you work in a studio, you have breathing cycle done already, and you can just import it to a second layer in Anime. And this is one of the ways I can advise you to do as well. You can do a breathing cycle as a separate animation, save it in the studio library, and import it on top as a new layer. But let's do today's slightly simplified version. Today, we'll just create inside this file the breathing animation. Now, you can select all and push it into a new layer, which is over here, but usually breathing, you don't need the entire body, right, to breathe. So, especially like legs, they're not involved. So I will select first the controllers that I know 100% need. It's shoulders, it's neck, it's head. I feel like I'm missing something. Arms could be involved if she's standing, but I feel like because the arms are resting on her knees right now, if I move them with the breathing, it will look odd. So I'm skipping. This is good. Let's just add these controllers first to our anim layer. We can call it breathing so we don't forget what it is. I personally don't use anim layers that much in my animation unless it comes to something like this. So let's go. Let's create here. So if you had a studio library, you would be able to move animation to where you want it to be, but I'll probably will want to have some breathing in over here. We still can move if you don't like it later. Let's just put keys over here. So I'll assume she's going to be start breathing here. Now, very important to figure out what your controllers can and cannot do. Like, for example, scaling 100% doesn't really work over here. Sometimes the scaling kind of works nice, especially depends on the character. Like, I feel like if I just scale it up, it just looks damn odd. So skipping scaling here, but maybe if you have more stylized character, it will work. Let's lock our base animation, just in case you don't want to touch that. When you breathe in, you can feel your chest is rising. You can feel the shoulders rising. As you breathe out, kind of everything falls. The head gets a delay in all this system. So let's breathe her in, push it up. Too much. Okay, I'll press plus just to make my... when you make your manipulator bigger, it's a bit more sensitive to... less sensitive. More sensitive? Less sensitive? Well, anyway, it's a bit easier to move because it doesn't move as much. The bigger the manipulator is. So I sometimes make it bigger just so it moves a bit less. So there we go. So we have this breathe in the body. Then we will need to add the shoulders. There we go. Our breathing. See, animation is not disturbed, which is awesome. We don't want animation to be disturbed. And now we have to add a little bit of a head and neck over here. So neck kind of tends to straighten up, but the head, as I said, will delay. So usually instead of raising the head here, I will push it down, but later I will offset it. And then breathe out. So let's do the breathe out. Now, if you are doing and you feel like your breathing is a bit too much, don't worry, that's the reason why we are doing it on the anim layer. And that's why I like to actually have done breathing in a separate file and then move it here, because then you can create a very good big breathing and by using animation layer reduce it. But we just do it over here first. Breathe in. Feel like now I'm looking at it, I think we need to add this controller to our mix. Why? Because I want to have some belly movement for... Let's see if this... Oh, this works a bit better. Aha, nice. So we can add the breathe in. Yes, and out. So we can copy this key. Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V works in Graph Editor. If you watched my previous video, you would knew that already. So there you go. Nice. So we got very subtle, nice breathing, but you notice probably the head is not very good because the head and the neck has to be offset properly. Now, just for the sake of making our life a little bit easier, let's select objects, only this layer, small in, small out. Let's offset our head a bit. Okay, so what I like to do here is just, it kind of helps me visualize. We're gonna make it into a cycle by Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. By the way, do not try to press S and drag the key here because it will be very different result because of the way the animation layers work. Layers, animation is a bit complicated. If you want a video about animation layers, I can talk about it, but they work slightly different than what you might think. Forgot to have infinity on. Curves post cycle. There you go. There we have our cycle, breathing cycle. She's kind of still breathing over here. That's not how we're gonna keep it, okay? But we just need it in order for me to see the head movement. So okay, now we want to hold the body a bit on top because when we breathe in, it's not as robotic as it is right now. So I can press the key here. Again, you can do the stealing method like I showed you this, or you can use the graphing editor just to make a hold a bit here. And so here we go. Now what you can do if you need different breathes, like different speed of breath, right? You can select all of this, select only this guy, because you have a cycle. You can Control C, Control V this cycle, and you can speed it up over here. So we can take this guy. It's called scaling something. I forgot what's the name of it. Oh, region tool. Okay, this is scope tool. I call it scaling tool. So I'm scaling it because she's scared over here, so she breathes a bit faster. Yes, and then you can, as she's settling down, paste another one, make it just a bit more shorter, because here we were breathing calmly. Yes, pretty good. I wouldn't submit this as like, oh, here we go, it's my final work, because it takes way more tweaking. You want to maybe add a little bit more of nuances to the breathing, you know, maybe play with the shoulders a bit more, because I did not offset shoulders, which is a bit of a crime, but you understand probably how time consuming it is to just go and tweak through everything. One of the smartest things you can do when you achieve this stage, when you already have some time and you already have some breathing, and please take this serious, even though it sounds like a joke. Get your ass off the computer and just go for a walk, do anything else with your life. Don't think of animation. Best come back next day, and only next day take another look at this animation. It will help you a lot to see the problems in the animation. Then you keep looking at the animation you have been staring for hours. So yeah, don't do that. See, there's a bit too much movement right now on the breathing, on when she breathes fast. We can change the amplitude a little bit here, so because the breath is a bit more shallow, she will not raise as much. It will be like more smaller movements. So all these kind of things you can keep in mind as you polish, as you add more stuff. But overall, this is how you would approach shots like this, by doing everything step by step, not overwhelming your animation. And one last thing I want to show you, if you using like library breathing, for example, I don't want her to breathe here at all. Like she's kind of froze here for a bit, right? So I can use this thing called wait, key this, so you can press over here key and then press over here key and see absolutely nothing happening. Is that because for some weird reason you need to unlock this layer first. So let's key here. Aha, something has changed. Interesting. Let's try to move it over here. Aha, you see something more interesting has changed. We added a new curve called wait. So wait works exactly like a KFK or parent blend or something like this. 1 is full on, 0 is off. So if you don't want her to breathe at all, you can hit here 0. So as she gets scared over here, you can completely remove this breathing thing. It's going to be on top over here. It's called wait. Move here. It applies to the whole anime layer. So here suddenly see there's no more breathing. If you want to return the breathing, push it back into 1. So for example, over here we don't have any breathing at all. This way you can manipulate any breathing library you ever had. You can I'll show you how to speed it up, but this is how you can also turn it off and on without deleting like bits in between, by just using animation layers to help you not to distract from the animation that you have done. Especially when you have reaction animation, you don't want to have breathing over there, probably because it's just going to have like extra movement that will not make your reaction as sharp and as bouncy. So you can remove it completely. Yeah, this works much better when you don't have a breathing in the middle as well, because she's kind of like tensed up, so she's not breathing in. So this works pretty well. And as I said, this is not a polished animation. This is not a final version of what this could be, because there's still a lot of things to take care of. But this is the approach that you want to take. And now you can have your breathing turned off by going back to your Maya. You can mute this layer, don't have breathing, focus on polishing all these little things, adding a little bit of details on the fingers, on the legs, maybe on the torso, maybe adding the facial animation and so on. Then you can turn your breathing back on and see how it works, and maybe adjust it a little bit more according to your new offsets and so on. But this is how you kind of build your work. I always feel like it's similar to the painting in the sense that you'll never start paint the portrait with just an eye or like a nose or a freckle. You start as major, as you're blocking out your timing, your spacing, the idea, the feel. When you get that, then you can go on and polish the hell out of that animation. You can find where to tweak and find, what else is not moving enough, what else is not breathing enough, what else can be tastier, juicier. But this is how you can build the carcass of your animation, by taking it step by step, thinking about it like, okay, what is the important now? Where is the core of this animation? Where is the idea of this animation? And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it's kind of longer than the ones I usually do, but this is like a lot of showcasing of animation, so that usually takes time. And animating does takes time, that's why animators like paid hourly and stuff, because it's really time-consuming job. And as usual, if you want more of the videos like this, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you want to learn more about, and maybe you have some interesting suggestion. Maybe you struggle with certain parts of animation and you need some help with it. Maybe my next video will be exactly the answer you're looking for. So until next time, I'll say to you as usual, stay healthy, animator.